There we go. The Inquisitor's Tale, or The Three Magical Children and Their Holy Dog. Chapter 2, The Nun's Tale. Here's a wonderful picture of Jean and Gwenfort the dog. 8 days ago, Jean lay in her bed of straw, staring through the smoke hole in her thatched roof. Her eyes followed the shifting stars as they twinkled in the early morning sky. She thought of her tasks for the next day, first collecting the eggs from the chickens, then walking out to the wide, cold fields to clear stones so her father could begin to break the land ahead of planting. She wondered, "Hey now, Maria Barks, you don't know what she was thinking and wondering. You're just making that up." But the nun replies, "Maybe I'm making it up, or perhaps I have my ways." And she gave us a smile that makes the hair on my neck stand up. Shall I continue? I don't say a word. I think I'm frightened of her. Jean wondered whether she'd be clearing her family's fields or the Lord's. When her body went stiff, her muscles began to twitch and spasm, her teeth ground in her head, and her eyes saw things beyond the veil of this life. She saw the holy grove where Gwenfort the dog was buried. Men with axes and torches coming to burn the grove to the ground, and a white greyhound standing on Gwenfort's grave. When the fit was over, Jean lay in the dark. She was breathing hard. Her fits always scared her, but this fit scared her more. She lay in the darkness, waiting for the strength to return to her limbs. At last, when she felt she could move, she threw her woolen blanket to the floor, climbed from her straw bed, tiptoed through the single dark room where she, her parents, and the cow slept, and slipped out the door. Here she is. "You sleep with your cows?" I say to Marie. "Only in winter," she replies. "Oh," I say, "obviously." Jean walked into the starry night, down the road through her village, and then into the forest that lay beyond. She found the path to the holy grove, for the moon was rising and it glowed a ghostly white. She hurried down the path. The branches scratched her face. She came to a stream and took it in one leap, and then she was in the grove. The moonlight filtered through the trees. Standing in the center of the clearing was a figure as white and shining as a ghost. But it was not a ghost. It was a dog. A white greyhound with copper blaze on her forehead. Jean could scarcely breathe. She took a step into the clearing. She whispered, "Gwenfort." The dog came closer. "Saint Gwenfort?" The dog sat down before her. Jean ran her hand over the dog's white coat. She didn't remember the white greyhound that her parents had killed, but she had heard countless stories about her. She and her family often came to this very spot to send prayers of thanks for her life to the holy greyhound. Could this be Gwenfort? The dog's big black eyes gazed up at Jean as if awaiting a decision. Just then, there came the sounds of branches breaking and voices in the distance. Jean peered into the trees. Men with torches and axes, marching through the forest like an advancing army. The first man Jean saw was a thin and with long, dirty yellow hair, a patchy yellow beard, and a face like a weasel. Behind him trudged a short, bald man. Others were scattered through the trees. The first man emerged into the clearing. "All right, you ladies' maids, hurry up and burn." He stopped. He had noticed Jean and Gwenfort kneeling together in the center of the grove. His men emerged from the wood behind him. They were knights. Jean could see that now. Swords and scabbards hung from their belts. Their tunics were leather, but everything about them was tattered and crusted in dust. And they had no horses. Perhaps they had left them somewhere. Jean hoped so, for a knight without a horse was a pathetic sight indeed, and a pathetic knight is a dangerous knight. The bald, squat one was fighting through a tangle of brambles. "Sir Fabian, will you shut up and use your piggy eyes?" The bald one stopped struggling with the brambles. "Jesus boots," he swore. A tall knight exclaimed, "Hey, it's a doggie!" "I thought the dog was supposed to be dead," said the bald knight. "That's what I was told," answered Sir Fabian. "So what's it doing alive?" Sir Fabian's thin hand drifted to the pommel of his sword. "I don't know," Fabian said, "but we can make it dead." He took a step towards Jean and pulled the sword from its leather sheath. Its long blade carved a semicircle in the air. "Good doggie," he said. "Good peasant." He used the same voice for them both. He stepped forward. "Stay, doggie. Stay, peasant." He stepped again. Run, Jean thought, but her legs seemed to have grown roots into the forest floor. The knight stepped forward one more. Jean could not move. He stepped forward one last time. He raised his sword. "Now!" Jean screamed. The dog ran. I don't know if you've ever seen a greyhound run. If you have, you know that it is a mystical experience. They are so swift, so exactly proportioned and balanced. It is one of the few perfect things in this world. Her legs extended, recoiled, extended again as she crossed the small green clearing. Then she disappeared into the forest. For an instant, Jean stood mesmerized and stared. Then she took off in the opposite direction. "Who should we go after?" asked the bald knight. "For the love of God, both of them!" Fabian shouted. "Go!" All of the knights started after the greyhound. "Some of you go after the girl," Sir Fabian cried. And so the knights, with torches raised and swords drawn, charged into the wood after Jean and her dog, Gwenfort. Not long after, Jean was crouching in the underbrush at the edge of the little yard behind her house. The family hens were attacking the earth, searching for worms and insects, clucking and muttering to one another like proud, fat little abysses. I forgot to show you pictures of the soldiers. Here they are, all running in different directions. I don't know if you can see that very well. Maybe I'll show you half the soldiers, like this. Soldiers and soldiers. Gwenfort nuzzled Jean's neck. They had found each other in the wood, and she had been content to walk by Jean's side all the way back to the village, as if she had known Jean for years, as if the village were her home. Jean had no idea what to make of it. Now they crouched together at the edge of her parents' yard. Jean suppressed a smile. What would her parents think? Mark's old rooster cried his fifth cry of the night, and the village started to wake. Doors began to open down the road. Jean's neighbors were spilling into the sunlight, adjusting their brown woolen tunics, stretching, scratching their oily heads. Jean heard the door of her own house open. She grabbed Gwenfort and whispered in her ear, "Lie down and don't move." The greyhound lay down in the underbrush. Jean stepped out into the yard just as her father appeared around the corner of the house, yawning and wiping his face, his hairy belly peeking out from under his shirt. He saw his daughter, exclaimed, "Jean," and opened his arms. She ran to him and buried himself in his warmth and the tangly smell of his breath. He rubbed her back. "Cold?" he asked. "Elaine slept with us again last night." "She always sleeps with you," Jean replied, pulling away and looking up at her father's scratchy chin. He grinned. "It's because she likes me best." Elaine was the cow. Jean's mother came from the front of the house. "Well, is it back there?" "Oh," her father exclaimed, "my hoe! Today's my day on the demesne. Can't find my hole." This was not surprising. Jean's father could rarely find anything. The family owned no more than 10 objects. 2 pots, 3 bowls, a hoe, a cow, some chickens, and a good 5 of them were regularly lost, thanks to her father. Jean's mother appeared around the corner of the house. Jean stole a glance back at the greyhound. The dog lay hidden in the deep shade of the new spring leaves. Jean's mother's green eyes were narrow and her brown hair was all a tangle. Her hands were planted on her hips and her elbows stuck out sharply. "Well?" Jean ran to her mother and hugged her too. She smelled different from Jean's dog. Dad, softer, not so rough. Her mother kissed Jean's head. "You were up early. Where did you go off to?" Jean looked from her mother to her father and then off to the woods. She couldn't help grinning. What would they think? Would they believe it was Gwenfort? But before she had gone 3 steps, someone called her back. Jean, hey, Jean! She turned. It was Mark, son of Mark, son of Mark, standing at the edge of their yard. Someone's looking for ya, he said. Who? Jean asked. Men with swords. Jean's parents looked at her sharply. Without taking her eyes from her daughter, Jean's mother said to Mark, do the men know where she is? I think so. Bailiff Charles is with them. Jean's father swore. God's hat! Who are they? Her mother demanded. Mark shrugged. Her green gaze turned on her daughter. I saw them in the forest. I was at the Holy Grove. They were there with axes. Jean hesitated, unsure how much more to say, so she skipped to the end. They chased me. Jean's mother's gaze lingered on her daughter another moment, like an innkeeper waiting for the last drop of ale from the barrel tap. But Jean said no more. So Jean's mother said, Mark, run back to your father. Do not go to Bailiff Charles or the men. They are not our friends. Mark turned and ran. Into the woods with you, Jean's mother hissed. Stay nearby, but hidden. Jean's father rubbed her head and winked at her. Then Jean returned to the forest, and the greyhound, no time to show the dog to her parents now, and knelt down in the thick foliage, pushing Ragwort away from her bare arms. Then, around the corner of the house came Bailiff Charles, leading 5 dirty, angry men. Jean's stomach turned over hard, and sweat began to bead up on her lip. The bald knight bellowed, Peasants! And now Jean could see the rest of the retinue. Following the bald knight was a knight with blonde curly hair and a lazy eye. Behind him was a chubbier knight with similar golden curls. Behind them stood 2 large, strong, stupid-looking men, one with a black unibrow running over his dull eyes, the other with a face like an anvil. Jean's neighbors had begun to gather around the edge of the yard or loiter in the road nearby. Peasants, the bald knight repeated. Have you a daughter? Jean's father hesitated. Then, without any warning, he spat right on the bald knight's leather boots. The world stood still. The peasants stared. Bailiff Charles gasped. The bald knight's eyebrows crawled up onto his shiny head. He pulled his hand back to strike Jean's father. But before he could make contact, Jean's mother pushed her husband backward. She began shouting at her husband. Oh, you wicked man, she howled in a voice just a little shriller than normal. How dare you affront his lordship, his worshipful lordship? The knights looked surprised. She spun on them. Oh, we do have a daughter, and a wicked one she is, wicked like her father. She ran away this morning, the wicked devil. Jean stared, perplexed, from the cool green brush. The bald knight squinted at the peasant woman. The tall one with the curly hair leaned forward and whispered very loudly, Ask her if she knows where the girls got to. The bald knight appraised Jean's mother and then nodded. Where's your daughter got to? Oh, she's here, Jean's mother shrieked. She came back home after seeing you in the wood. Jean nearly fell over. Jean's father nearly fell over too. Yvette, be quiet, he barked. Oh, stow it. These men are knights and lords. We can't lie to the gentle. We but lowly peasants. The knights looked gratified. She's right, you know. The bald one nodded. Best not lie to the gentry. We can tell, can't we? Oh, you can. I always say so. No use lying to the gentle. So, the bald knight asked, where is she? Jean, her mouth hanging open in horror, watched her mother lean in and whisper into the knight's ear. She could not believe what she was seeing. She made ready to run. Jean's mother whispered so loudly everyone could hear it. She likes to hide in the dung heap. The dung heap? Indeed. The bald knight looked at the other knights. The one with the lazy eye shrugged. Peasants do like filth, don't they? The bald one scratched his neck. I suppose they do. Oh, we do. We love it, Jean's mother agreed, her husband and all the other villagers watching her uncertainly. Jean's mother appealed to her neighbors. The dung heap is where our little Jean is always hiding. Isn't that so? A few of them slowly nodded. Mark, son of Mark, son of Mark, angled his head in confusion. All right, said the bald knight. Where's the dung heap? Oh, this way, sir, this way. Jean's mother led them around the house into the main road. She walked east to where the refuge sat by the river. The knights followed her, and the peasants followed them. Some villagers already out in the field stopped their hoeing and gazed at the strange procession as it passed. Jean quickly rose to her feet, collected the greyhound from where she lay, and led the dog gingerly along the shaded edge of the wood, keeping the knights in view. After a few minutes' walk, the group arrived at the small river, and beside it a hill, brown, fly-infested, half-solid and half-liquid, reeking with the fetid smell of feces. The bald knight approached it, covering his face with a thick, hairy hand. "Well," he demanded, "where is she?" Jean's mother looked at him, so earnest and helpful. "Why, she's inside it. That's where she's hiding, right in the middle." She appealed to her neighbors. "She's always just taking that dung and piling it up on top of herself, isn't she?" The other peasants hesitated and then began nodding vigorously. The knight with the lazy eye looked like he was going to be sick. "So how do you get her out?" the bald knight wanted to know. "Just stick your arms in there and feel around till you get her." The knight's eyes went wide. "I'll help you," Jean's mother added, "but she'd just wriggle away from me. Knows my tricks too well, she does." Then Jean's mother added in a loud whisper, "And don't bother with the other peasants. They'll just help the little devil escape. I've seen it before. You can't trust a peasant, as dishonest as they are stupid, right?" The bald knight nodded slowly, still eyeing the dung heap. At last he said, "All right, boys, dig in." The knights stayed exactly where they were. The bald one frowned at them. The chubby one raised his hand as if to say, "You're on your own, my friend." So the bald knight said, "Georges, Robert, come on." The two large, particularly stupid-looking knights came forward. "Do Sir Fabian proud," the bald one barked. The knight with the heavy unibrow stuck out his chin and sighed. The one with a face like an anvil shrugged his shoulders and, without even rolling up his sleeves, shoved his arms into the dung with a squelch. A swarm of flies exploded from the heap's surface. The other one plunged his woolen sleeves up above his elbows and plunged his hands in too. And here's a picture, thank goodness not a smell, of the dung heap and the knights digging in. Jean huddled in the nearest stretch of wood, watching in disbelief. She had to bury her face in her sleeve to prevent herself from laughing out loud. Beside her, Gwenfort yapped. Jean hushed her. The greyhound yapped again. "Shh," Jean giggled. "Don't laugh at them. It isn't nice." But the dog turned toward the forest behind them and began to growl. Jean's neighbors were hiding their smiles in their shirts now, trying not to give the game away. "Are you sure this is necessary?" the chubby knight was asking, watching his comrades with disgust. "Her own mother says she's in there," the bald knight snapped. "Peasants aren't smart enough to lie to the gentry. You heard yourself." Suddenly he had a thought. He turned to Jean's mother. "This is just animal refuse, right? You peasants do your own business somewhere else." Jean's mother smiled sweetly. "Oh, no, sir, we do our squatting right here." The bald knight glanced skyward. The lazy-eyed knight gagged. The two big blokes kept digging away. Their upper bodies were almost entirely submerged in feces. It looked like they were swimming. Beside Jean, Gwenfort bristled, growling, staring into the forest. She barked. "Shh," Jean hissed. "They'll hear you." She wrapped her arms around Gwenfort and held her tightly. And then someone wrapped his arms around Jean. She was lifted from her feet. Jean tried to scream, but a strong, calloused hand was clamped over her mouth. Jean Fort spun and barked, and Jean kicked wildly, but the man's wiry arms were wrapped around her, pinning her onto her own sides. An oily beard scratched her cheeks. "Got you, little girl," whispered Sir Fabian. Gwenfort snapped to the knight's legs, but he kicked her in the face. The greyhound fell back, snarling. Fabian hoisted Jean under one arm, still holding her tightly. With his free hand, he drew his sword and swung it at the dog. Jean Fort tried to bite him again, but the knight's long blade cut through the air. "Run, Gwenfort," Jean cried, "run!" The greyhound stood, limbs a-quiver, staring at little Jean. The sword flashed through the air again, and the dog had disappeared. Just a flash of fur pelting through the forest, and in an instant, out of sight. The knight carried Jean across a peasant's garden plot, scattering chickens as he went. His oily beard smelled. Jean tried to kick him, but her heels caught only air. But as Fabian and Jean approached the main road, the knight slowed, then stopped. He gazed at his men, churning the village dung heap with their arms. Why, said Sir Fabian, are my men swimming in crap? Hey, Mark, son of Mark, father of Mark, cried, look! Villagers turned from the spectacle of the dung heap to see little Jean carried like a willful calf in the arms of the weasel-faced knight. Sir Fabian, cried the bald one. When her parents saw Jean, their faces went white as wool. Her mother's stupid peasant act fell away. She ran for Jean, and Jean's father followed. The villagers went after, surging toward the little girl and her captor. Behind them, the two big knights raised their heads from their fetid, stinking task. Where's everyone going? One asked. The other shrugged and got back to digging. Sir Fabian held Jean tightly. His knights pushed past the villagers. Stay back, they cried. Avant! They interposed themselves between the peasants and their leader. Jean gave the bald one a swift kick from behind. He turned and growled at her. You put her down, Jean's mother screamed. You have no right. We are free peasants. I'll find a magistrate. You've no right. But Sir Fabian barked back. I have every right. We are here on the orders of Saint-Denis. The name momentarily halted the villagers' onslaught. Then Jean's mother cried, You have orders to kidnap little girls? We have orders to stamp out the pagan worship of a dog. What dog would we worship? Jean's father objected. We would never, someone shouted. But it's true, Bailiff Charles piped up from the back. You do worship a dog. Gwenfort? Mark, son of Mark, father of Mark, called out. We don't worship her. We venerate her proper as the saint she is. And Marie, the Brewster, said, So do you, Charles, you bald-faced suck-up. Marie grinned. So I did. But Sir Fabian took on a superior air as he squeezed Jean with his thin, strong arms. A dog can't be a saint. That's blasphemy. We found this little girl cavorting with and protecting that dog. That's why we've the right to take her, and anyone who tries to stop us will be put to the sword. The bald knight, following his leader's cue, drew his and brandished it in the faces of the villagers. But the peasants had fallen silent. Jean's mother said, What dog? Gwenfort, the greyhound, Fabian snapped. You peasants really are slow. Bailiff Charles chewed on his mustache and stared at the knight. Gwenfort is dead, Jean's father said. She has been for 10 years long. Sir Fabian heaved Jean higher to get a better grip on her. Then what was this little brat doing with a greyhound in your grove, a greyhound with a white coat and a copper blaze on its nose? Is that not your holy dog? Jean's parents stood stock still. Other villagers crossed themselves. Some stepped back. They were staring at little Jean. What have you been doing, my girl? Jean's father whispered. I saw her during one of my fits, Jean shouted, trying to tear herself from the knight's hard hands. She didn't mean to let the truth come pouring out of her, but after all these years, it did. She was young, she was, and she was scared. I saw Gwenfort during my fit, so I went to her grove. She was there. That's all I did. Gwenfort was there, her mother murmured. Jean nodded, tears beginning to cloud her vision. The villagers were now looking away from the little girl and her family. Jean, her father said, what have you done? Mama, Papa, Jean's voice was rising to a panicked pitch. What did I do wrong? But her parents did not answer. Her father bowed his head. Her mother looked away, tears in her eyes. Mama, Jean screamed. Practicing magic is a sin against God and a violation of the law, Sir Fabian announced. We will take her to Saint-Denis to be tried. Mama! And where she goes, maybe that damn dog will follow. Mama, Papa! Jean's throat was straining and tears were streaming down her face. But her parents just stood there staring. They were afraid. Mama, Papa! Afraid of their daughter. Everyone at the table is leaning in, our lips open, our eyes wide. And then, I ask? The nun sits back on her rough stool. They took her away, just as Marie said. Isn't that true, Marie? The Brewster nods thoughtfully. She's gazing at the little nun. That's how it happens, she murmurs, though I can't fathom how you know all that. Instead of answering, the little nun picks up her mug and drains a long draught. When she puts it down, she has a foam mustache over her little mouth. Maybe someone else could tell something, perhaps one of the boys? I study her impish smile and innocent eyes, and I'm about to press her for more information when the innkeeper, who's been waddling around bringing us fresh mugs to the nearby table, says, "Brother Jerome, you said you knew the big boy, didn't you?" We turn toward an old monk with a long white beard sitting at the far end of the table. His thin hands are stained with ink. The monk smiles and runs his hand over his whiskers. "Ah, I do. I am the librarian at the monastery where the boy called William grew up. I knew him rather well. I can't believe my luck. As if all these people had gathered together to make my job easier, which is great. I like easy. Tell us about William," I say. The monk inclines his white beard. "I shall, but I must warn you that this tale is darker and bloodier than the last. I wouldn't want to upset any of the present company." He gestures at the ladies. I say, "Darker than a dog getting killed?" "Indeed," says Jerome. Marie tips her mug back, empties the last drop onto her open mouth, and then slams it down, shaking everything on the table. "The bloodier the better," she announces, and everyone laughs. Old Jerome grins. "If you insist." That's the end of chapter 2.